Hey again, everybody, and thanks for tuning in for another episode of the MonkeyBoy Presents the DC Comics Superhero Collection. And today we have issue number 13 for you, Scarecrow. And I know it's another Batman villain, yes, but it is kind of cool that they made number 13 Scarecrow. I thought that was sort of neat with the whole, 13 being an unlucky number thing. This is also an absolutely outstanding figure, which you will see in due course. But first, we will cover the magazine, telling us everything we need to know about the character, the origins of Dr. Jonathan Crane, and how he fell into madness and became the Scarecrow. And then we will take a look at this most amazing figure, covering the good, the bad, and the ugly. Here we are, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, DC Comics Superhero Collection by Eaglemoss, issue number 13, Scarecrow. First up, we have the character section, where we learn a little bit about Dr. Jonathan Crane. When he was still a young boy, his father ran out on both he and his mother, leaving her to care for him alone, so he spent most of his time with his uber-religious and abusive grandmother. He was picked on all throughout high school, nicknamed Scarecrow by his classmates, and he started playing around with fear and the psychology of fear even then, orchestrating a nasty prank, quote-unquote, on some of the kids in high school. Graduating high school with honors, he attended Gotham University, where he began to study psychology, especially the psychology of fear and how he could use it on people. Ironically, the very same chemicals that he used to kill the regents at the university began to affect him mentally, making him even more paranoid than ever. The next couple of pages focus on the relationships that he managed to build with some of the inmates in the asylum. He's worked in tandem with the likes of the Joker, who were partners in insanity for a little while. We also get to see him team up with another sort of fairy tale storybook type of character when he went on a bit of a crime spree with the Mad Hatter. Also, in the margin of the one page, we get a nice little blurb about Arkham Asylum. After the events of Hush, Scarecrow went underground, and we next see him appearing working for the Penguin, but what he didn't know was that Penguin had actually double-crossed him and was using his DNA in a twisted experiment. Scarecrow awoke from the coma eventually and found himself back in Arkham Asylum, but so perfect were his skills at fear, he actually began to manipulate and terrify the guards to the point where they actually let him walk out, and he began to terrorize Gotham City yet again. We also see him becoming a member of the Sinestro Corps briefly, because Scarecrow has the power to instill great fear in others. Next, we have the Scarecrow's classic storylines. First, we have Batman Hush. And while Scarecrow had a very minor role in this story, he was a very important character in it. This tale basically sees this new villain calling himself Hush, releasing all these Arkham Asylum inmates out into Gotham, terrorizing Batman, trying to break him down psychologically, and he's using the Scarecrow, Hush is using the Scarecrow, to manipulate the other villains, because he has this psychological way of controlling others. It's a great, great storyline. Next is Batman as the Crow Flies. And this tale is significant because it did something no one had ever done with Scarecrow before. They actually gave him superpowers, but this saw him transforming into the Scare Beast, where he could actually ooze these toxins and use them as a weapon. It was really cool to see them do something different with the character, even though it was very short-lived. Finally, we have, yet again, Batman, The Long Halloween. And I know you would expect a story with Halloween in the title to focus on the Scarecrow, but it doesn't. He's another supporting character in this one, but it was an amazing supporting role. Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale totally redesigned the character. He looks creepy and nasty, and when he speaks in nursery rhyme. It is one of the creepiest transformations and interpretations of the character ever done. Next, we get to see some of Scarecrow's allies and enemies, and on the first page we have the dynamic duo and Huntress. And the next page we get another really cool shot of Scarecrow as the Scare Beast. Scarecrow's iconography section talks a little bit about the fear factor, basically focusing on other characters, villains in the DCU, that instill fear in others. We have the Killer Croc when he was still slightly humanoid looking. We see another one of Batman's greatest enemies, Bane. Talks briefly about the Sinestro Corps and their mission to bring fear across the galaxy. And finally, the Man-Bat. And lastly, the original thinking section continues with part 4 of the DC timeline, The Rise of Atlantis. And it's exactly what it says it is. We see the rise of the city of Atlantis, how they were a technological society well beyond the years of any other on Earth. It also talks about the Homo Magi, which were a sort of spin-off of Homo sapien. They had the ability to actually use magic and manipulate the elements around them. It also talks about Lord Xanadu, who was this evil sort of alien magic user who tried to conquer not only Atlantis, but the world. And lastly, we see Superman fighting this gigantic android, which was a weapon left here on prehistoric Earth 500,000 years ago that had one day just woken up in South America and started wreaking havoc. Alright everyone, here is the Scarecrow, and I just have to say right off the bat, Eaglemoss has totally raised the bar with this figure. They've all been impressive up to this point, for the most part. This one is just far and away the most intricately detailed figure they have done thus far. I mean, the stitching on the clothing, the patchwork, the raggedy look, the wash to give it this, the paint wash gives it this sort of like dirty, grimy, old, dingy feel to it. It's great. His hair looks like it's straw, all the way down to the little curl on the end of the hat. I mean, look at how small that is. It's like, there's my thumbnail, and there's that hat, the tail end of that hat. It's incredible. Everything about him is just so intricately detailed. And his face, you can actually see it through the mask. I'll have better pictures for you in a minute here. I also wanted to point out that the sickle is a separate piece. He does hold it very snugly. This can be bent or broken pretty easily, so you want to be careful with that. He definitely needs it for the pose. He doesn't look very intimidating holding on to thin air. It's also cool to note that in the base they have a little indentation for where the base of the sickle goes, so it's sure to stay put and not bend on you. But anyway, better pictures here in just a second of this most impressive figure. Scarecrow stands atop the DC logo, and on the underside of the base is his name in multiple languages with the serial number for the figure. And just so you guys can get a cool comparison shot, we have Scarecrow next to Batman. As I already said, this figure is absolutely outstanding. Eaglemoss has set the bar so high with this one, it's going to be almost impossible to match it, I think. There are some really impressive figures down the line, but just the detail on this one, the intricate detail from every little bit of stitching to, again, all the patchwork clothing. Everything on him looks like a burlap sack. I mean, the gloves look like they're burlap sacks. Even his booties that he's wearing, his little makeshift sandals, it's fantastic. The sickle has this really nice metallic wash on the blade, so it looks like it could really cut. It's also sort of edged if you look at it really close. It's fantastic. Gosh, what else can I say about this figure? His hair looks like it's straw. I love that you can actually see Jonathan Crane's face underneath the burlap sack mask. It's fantastic. Everything about him. The good. Everything. I mean, there's nothing wrong with this figure. It's a must-have, an absolute must-have. From the paint wash to the detail to the pose, he looks creepy. I wouldn't want to see this guy standing down a dark alley looking back at me. No way, I'm out of there. The bad, nothing, absolutely nothing on this figure is bad. There might be a couple of little paint flaws here and there, but it's indistinguishable from the rest of it, which is fantastic. It's so good. The ugly. The only major problem with the figure is the sickle. It's very fragile. It can bend, it can break. Mine even has a couple of little chips in the paint from where his hands hold it. So it's not visible when he's holding it, it's only visible when you pull it out. But that's the only major thing to watch out for on this figure. I mean, top to bottom, from the little curl in the hat to his sandaled burlap feet, it's a fantastic figure. Really, really great figure for the line. Well done, Eaglemoss. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I really hope you enjoyed it. Stay tuned for a quick trailer for our next figure. We're finally getting out of villain territory and also Batman territory with this next figure. So stay tuned for that. Once again, I am your humble host, the MonkeyBoy. Thank you for watching.